You all talked about the big important steps of stepping in the door. What are those instant sell-offs or those turn-offs that we just can't afford to be bringing? I realize unorganization would be one of them, but just some of those other points that might be part of it.
Who up here would like to address those big turn-offs, those things that let you know they're not ready or this isn't going to go well? What are some of those? Susan and Doug, did you have one as well?
The first one, and just briefly, is a lack of interest in our company. Either ignorance of or just not willingness to listen to what we have to say. I think all of us have probably participated in meetings that were like that, where someone came in and they were just pitching what they had to offer and weren't really listening to the feedback or picking up the signals that wasn't terribly interesting. So I think that's the biggest turnoff. That's the biggest red flag.
Are there great questions that any of you remember being asked that you say, oh, very well played. That was a really good probing question to let me know we were on the same page.
Well, I could speak to that and kind of elaborate a little bit on what Susan just said, and that is as the possibility of having a partnership with a company like ours. Part of it is that you're interested in that partnership, not just in our money. And that when we think about a partnership, we think about our employees getting engaged. We think about our employees being mentors, being volunteers to work hand in hand with the organization. So understanding that there's that dimension there, and I won't speak to anybody else, but for us, that's a very important component of our giving, is to link our employee volunteerism with our contributions.
Do others of you have thoughts on red flags that warn you we're not going to a strong place here, or great questions that you've been asked? Amy, did you want to weigh in?
Yeah, I guess I would add to that, less of a red flag per se that might show up at the start of a discussion, but more of a red flag in the interaction. If you think about really building a partnership and a relationship over time, then clearly there's got to be some give and take to find the sweet spot at the intersection between the company's interests and your interests. And so during the course of the conversation, as the company talks about what their priorities are, and as the organization talks about what it's trying to do, if there's no part of that conversation that's about melding those two. So for instance, somebody comes in with a pitch of, here's what we would like to have you guys involved with if you want to participate. If that conversation doesn't at some point turn into, oh, here's how we could modify what we were talking about, or here's what we're hearing from you, we would therefore strengthen this part. I mean, if you don't get to that part of the conversation, you're probably not making much progress. That would be my input.
So it sounds like not only having planned some good questions, really knowing what those questions need to be, listening carefully, but coming into that relationship with a sense of nimbleness, of flexibility, being open to how collaboratively could we work together, not are you with us or are you against us? Mm-hmm. Right. Penny, you clearly have a thought as well.
Well, I absolutely agree with what my colleagues have said here, and now I'm speaking from the foundation point of view rather than the corporation point of view, but it's helpful to remember the three things you look for when you put someone on your board, which are wealth, work, and wisdom. And if you come to us just looking for wealth, that's a turn-off. So Doug mentioned the kinds of work that people from the company can do, and the fact that you would value that as well is affirming to the company. If you are also looking for some wisdom, if you're willing to listen to the ideas of the people that you're talking to, I think if you come in and say, here's what we're thinking, we have some questions, what do you think about this plan that we have? How would you evaluate this if you were in our position? You start engaging your interlocutor in the intellectual process of trying to figure out what this project really needs to be. I think you're well on the way to making that